Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join us for our last session of what has been a fantastic ISV Partner Day. We appreciate you taking the time to do so today. Today's final session will be delivered by Justine and Peter from Microsoft, and they're joining us all the way from the US, and we really appreciate their time to doing so. Their session on Microsoft Mapping was sure to be a good one. At this point, I would happily like to hand you over to Justine and Peter.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Getting Started with Bing Maps. As Chris mentioned, I'm Justine Coates, and I am from Microsoft. And here's a little blurb. Peter and I both belong to a team called the Customer Advisory Team, and we're part of the Bing Maps product. We are a member of a team called the greater team called the Bing Maps, Microsoft Maps and Geospatial team, which creates the Bing Maps for Enterprise products, as well as the Bing Maps consumer site. And I just wanted to welcome you all today. I'm in Vancouver, BC, and it is an early morning here, but I hope you guys had a great day. It sounds like things are going well for ISV Partner Day. And I'd like to thank Grey Matter for inviting us to be part of this event. Welcome to Getting Started with Bing Maps. And here's the lovely slide that I meant to be presenting. So let's push on then. Sorry, it doesn't seem to be. My apologies, everyone. It doesn't seem to be moving forward. All right, so just to give you sort of an idea of what we're planning to talk about today, just sort of a refresher on what Bing Maps is, things that you should know about it, and how easy it is to try it before you buy it. And then when you do decide that it's just the right thing for you, licensing it through Grey Matter. So what is Bing Maps? And one of the things that we get as a confusion point all the time is I see Bing Maps bing.com/maps, and I see that as a product. What is the difference between Bing Maps and the thing that we call the Bing Maps platform? Well, the biggest difference is that one is a developer platform, the other is a consumer website that actually uses the same backend data that the developer platform exposes. So if you want to find out as a consumer what's going on in your area or anywhere in the world, you can look at a Bing map at bing.com/maps. But if you want to find out more about adding Bing Maps to your product, you would go to microsoft.com/maps. And why is Bing Maps more than just maps? Well, when you think of a map, or we think of the term map, you picture yourself in your car driving frantically around trying to find an address, or using your cell phone to find yourself some lunch nearby. But there's a bunch of intelligence behind that experience that is part of the platform that we provide to both the consumer and the developer experience. So we have worldwide infrastructure. We run on the Azure platforms around the world. So if you look up where Azure servers are located, you'll find where we're located as well. We also have a bunch of really smart algorithms around location and understanding what it means to be in a particular location and give that context, as well as you might have seen some of our blogs about the AI and learning and us releasing public building footprints for parts of the world as we put a little AI engine onto looking at some of our aerial data and pulling out helpful and useful data from that aerial imagery. So, Bing Maps is a worldwide geospatial platform offering. We have more than 20 years of experience at Microsoft giving maps and a platform of various different levels, but the one that most people recognize is Virtual Earth, because Virtual Earth was sort of a neat way of looking at how you might pull together the entire planet as a worldwide platform. And you might notice, if you are a Bing Maps developer, that a number of the endpoints that you call are still those comfortable Virtual Earth platform endpoints. But the key here is that, not any one entity has all of the information that we need to provide a worldwide offering. So in order to do that, we partner with multiple different data providers in order to stitch together the best globe that we can with the best data that we can in parts of the world. And just as an extension to that, we are partnered with OpenStreetMaps on an effort called Missing Maps to help map parts of the globe that are just not very well mapped. And you can check into that effort as an exercise on your own to discover more about Missing Maps and the humanitarian efforts around that. So, what should you know if you want to start with our developer platform? As I stated before, Microsoft.com/maps is the best place for you to start. We're also here to help you when you are ready and you've tried out Bing Maps and you want to know more and you want to set yourself up, you want to use it in your product. The Gray Matter's here to help you, and Microsoft is here to help you. We also get a lot of questions about uptime and that sort of and volumes, and hey, can you handle all of the stuff that I'm going to need for my platform? So our platform actually serves all of the mapping transactions and location intelligence required by search, ads, and news. So the all-up Bing platform at Microsoft. So if you're in Bing and you're looking for a pizzeria, you don't want the Napoli pizzeria in Napoli. You want the one around the corner from your house. So in that sense, you can see that there are a number of searches that are location related, but not necessarily having a map involved. And that we power all of that, as well as any maps that you find pretty much in any other Microsoft product. So if you're using Dynamics 365, any of the Microsoft 365 applications, SharePoint, Office 365, Excel, you've probably heard of Power Map. And obviously, if you go into Windows and you use the Windows Map application, that's all served by the same backend service. So we're pretty confident that we can handle pretty much any sort of volume play that you want to throw at us. And if Microsoft relies on our platform, we think you should be able to as well. So my guidance is try this at home. Try the stuff yourself. I'm going to give you a demo of the Bing Maps Interactive SDK and how easy it is to use. But this is also how easy it is to find. If you search for Bing Maps iSDK, it'll bring you to this website, our bing.com/API maps SDK map control iSDK. And this SDK is powered by our V8 web control. That means it's the exact same experience that you would be putting into your application. When you want to know more about the transactions and the costs involved and how many transactions you're using, there's actually multiple places that you can get intelligence on that. But understanding Bing Maps transactions is a great place to start. In that page, you'll look at the left menu, and there's some other great topics like creating a Bing Maps account and our best practices. These are super helpful, and they also point to things like GitHubs and other helpful documentation around trying this yourself and bringing it into your product. So now I'm going to use the power of technology to try and share my demo with you on this event. And let me just see if this will work. All right. So, as I was telling everybody, this is our interactive SDK. You can see we have the web control, and I happen to be currently sitting in Vancouver, British Columbia, somewhere close to this dot. So what the map control does when you load it, if you do not give it a position, it will do its best to be as close to you as it has available. So in this case, I'm in Vancouver, and it's basically at the location of my service provider. What I wanted to show you is how easy it is to change items in this control. Notice that the default color of the push pin is red. All I need to do is type the word blue here and hit this little run button. And ta-da! I've actually made a code change. I haven't created an account with Bing. I haven't given anybody my name. I haven't done anything that would identify myself, but I'm already playing with the web control that's offered as part of the suite of developer tools available through Microsoft.com/maps. The next sample I want to show you is also in this menu here. If you look around and try a few of these samples, you'll see there's one called a simple ground overlay. And what this one is showing is a patchwork of the United States, but you can see that the image is just laid over top of the graph of the map. After we give it the position that we want, we tell it the size that we want, and we point it to the image. So I'm going to do the same thing. I have searched for a Microsoft logo, and I chose this one, and you'll see that I have a link to that logo, and it is as easy as taking that logo link. Oops, I seem to have lost my Okay, I've lost my sample. My apologies. It is as easy as taking that logo link and the location that I want to show to place it over top and lay it on top just like this ground overlay. Unfortunately, I have lost my location settings, so I will have to go to my more complex sample of showing you how this would look once I'm actually a Bing Maps customer. So if I go to bing.com/maps and I look for the Woodland Park Zoo, you'll see that this is how I see it on my consumer map. Now, I want to know where the animals are, and I want to have an experience that shows me where I want to be in the park to see those particular things. Now, how I do that is that same overlay that I just showed you this is my zoo overlay, and it shows me all of the things that are nearby. Let me just zoom in, and I have overlaid this. As you can see, I can set it to any opacity I want to give you an idea of where the animals are on each of these locations. And with that, let's pop back to page. Are there any questions on using the interactive SDK? All right. All right, so just to get a little more into what we do or what can be done with our Bing Maps developer offering, here are some of the industries that we support, and arguably there are more than these, but these are the ones that sort of stand out and in our customers, the people that are reaching out to us and using our product. At this point, though, I wanted to talk to you more about what was done for our pretty famous now COVID tracking site.
Justine.
Yes.
Before we move on, there's an interesting question on the controls. Someone's asking if we do support 3D overlays.
Oh, that's awesome. So the problem with the web control is that you are on a web page, and web pages just do not have the access to the rendering engines and the rendering hardware below on whatever operating system that you are. So it is actually pretty difficult to do a 3D overlay on a web control, but we do support 3D overlay in our native control offerings. So I highly recommend opening up the map application in Windows and taking a look at the 3D cities and just playing with that built-in control, because that application in Windows uses the same control that we make available to you. Are there any other questions there, Peter?
No, not so far. Thank you, Justine.
All right. I do get a lot of questions with people wanting a 3D experience on a web page, but we have currently not been able to crack the graphics requirements for the 3D experience through a web experience that does have quite the high data and rendering requirements, just not very accessible in the web environment. Now, on to our topic of, well, I guess it's the topic of the decade, isn't it? We are all working from home, and we are attending this event from home because of COVID. And not to be, not to take this lightly, but we wanted to make sure that we had an offering that could show the public data sources on Bing. So the Bing team, all up, including folks from our mapping team, produced this website, bing.com/COVID. And to be honest, to get the basic interaction, not the way it is today, but pretty close, it took about 1 weekend. This was done as extra effort from the Bing team. And I think the experience has turned out to be pretty nice. I hope you'll all try it. But the thing that I'd like to point out is the control that you see there is the web control that we offer in the interactive SDK. So I was going to show you a few of the things that we have as samples that can help you get started on the direction of making an experience like this. So back to our interactive SDK here. And the things that I wanted to show you are the heat map model. So the idea is this, you'll see that this loads the heat map module saying that I'm going to use a GeoJSON source. Then I have a public URL that feeds me data about the earthquakes around the world. This is actually earthquake feed from the USGS, US Geological Survey, and it shows where our earthquakes have happened in the last 30 days. So here you can see Alaska, the United States, and Hawaii, and the density of where the earthquakes have occurred. And this is, you might notice that it's very, very similar to showing any data source such as like a density of an infection or anything that you want to show where stuff is occurring. So are there any questions on heat maps? All right, so let's see how we can get this a little more entertaining. This is also from a public data source, but in this case, hopefully we've got some exciting weather today. This is from our weather radar from the radar network in the United States, and you'll see that it shows a time lapse of movement of weather. This only grabs five points of time and just repeats the animation. But you can see the power of overlaying on the map any data that you wish your customers to see or you want your workers to gather intelligence from. And on that note, I'd also there's one last thing that I would like to show you. Sorry. If you go to our blog, my apologies. It seems I've lost all of my preloaded pages. You will see that we've actually made some changes to our APIs in order to support COVID and COVID scenarios. So underpinning a lot of the work that happens for any of our offerings, as we have customer need, we look at adding new features in order to support those needs. So the other thing that I would like you to take a look at after this talk is to look at our MEO API. This is allows you to have multiple agents in multiple locations and do traveling salesman and delivery scenarios. We have extended that API recently to do up to 50 agents and 500 locations. It had been limited to 10 agents and 100 locations at our launch point, but we've now been able to expand that offering to meet some of the heavy demands of this API. And at that point, I'm happy to take any questions. And I'd like to thank you all for attending this discussion, and would like to also continue to point you to all of this helpful information and the discussion on getting started with actually creating your account and understanding more about licensing with gray matter. Are there any other questions?
There's nothing that I can see. Oh, yeah, there's one that's just popped in actually into the Q&A. Is there live traffic info?
There is. There's definitely live traffic info, but it's only available in certain regions. Again, we are a patchwork, so we get the traffic that we can. If you go to our documentation if you go to Microsoft.com/maps and look at our documentation, you can find there's at least 5 coverage documents. One of those is about traffic coverage. And it's both incident and flow, but incident isn't offered in all areas. Flow has more coverage than incident level. Now, it is an aggregate, and we do use historical data in order to plan routes in the future, but that is done off of a conglomerate. Often I'm asked, I want to find out what the traffic was like on Tuesday. We don't actually have that level of API. We have a predictive graph that we use in our routing. So if you plan a route in the future, we will be using historical data to help with planning that route.
We have a couple of questions here, Justine. First of all, related to the overlays, can you heat map on top of an overlay?
The map does have multiple layers, so you can certainly have one layer with a heat map and another layer with an overlay.
And the next question is, does Big Map offer truck routing?
Absolutely. Again, in that coverage that I mentioned before, you can look and see where we have truck routing coverage. Again, it's not worldwide, because basically we need the data for the heights of the bridges, and that's just not necessarily available worldwide. But where we have the depth of data required to do truck routing, we do offer truck routing, and that is also outlined in our documentation, in the coverage documentation.
So there doesn't appear to be any further questions at this stage. Just give it a minute to see if anybody comes up with any additional ones.
Okay. I'll just point everybody again to this great page here. This is docs.microsoft.com Bing Maps, and it's available straight off of the microsoft.com/maps site. And in here is where you will find the things like the coverage questions, the different kinds of controls. The first one obviously is the near and dear to my heart from the Interactive SDK, the Bing Maps web control. There's also our REST services calls. These are the things that you can do without having when you don't need a map and you just need some location information. We have a native Bing Maps SDK for Android and iOS. We have the UWP map control that is used in that Windows map application, as well as our new Garage Project Mixed Reality Unity Control, which we love to demo at events, but since we won't be doing events in person, you'll have to just check this out yourself. there are probably some wonderful videos online of using that SDK as well. We also have a link to our Helpful Maps blog here as well. Oh, here, look at this. Geographic coverage information. And here we have both traffic and transit. So here's what I was saying. There's the traffic coverage and the incident coverage, and it's called out by country.
And truck routing coverage is also there. So
Right there too. Again, there's a call out here. It's a matter of the data that we have available, but our truck routing API allows you to set a bunch of triggers, but not all of those triggers may be available in each of the countries. And if there are no other questions, I'd like to thank you all for attending today. And I'd like to thank Grey Matter for inviting us to their event. So thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Justine. Appreciate your time today, delivering the session, and Peter's as well. It's very much appreciated, especially considering potential time differences and what have you. You kindly shared contact details on the previous slide, so thank you for that. Obviously the more pertinent address on there, and I've just added it to our slide as well, as the mapping@greymatter.com email address. If you want to speak to our team of mapping specialists that we have in-house, who are obviously very close to Justine, Peter, and the team at Microsoft in terms of sorting you or helping you build out your mapping-based solutions. That being said, if there's any other questions that come up post this session, please feel free to reach out using those contact details. But additionally, the Grey Matter ISV partner community group on LinkedIn as well. I'd like to thank everybody for joining this afternoon's session, and those that have stuck with us throughout the day. As I mentioned at the top of this call, all the sessions have been recorded and will be made available to you in follow-up. But should any further questions come up, do feel free to reach out to us. Thank you again, Justine and Peter, and everybody who attended.